Cause wait a goddamn minute. Why am I so late to the party? Why didn't I know about Aaron, Pierre, that's Mufasa, and Teyana Taylor? Baby, what? Oh, you're gonna love me. That shit looks so divine. It's almost look like they was made for each other. Them motherfucking pictures look like they supposed to be in an art museum. Like, that shit looks so fucking... French kid. I am here for it. I am here for it. That gotta be the reason why Lori was like, nah, I'm cool on him. Because you know Lori is not turning down no new bake, baby. She would have ate it up real quick. Oh, I'm just hurt for it. They look so damn good together. Like, what?
Teyana's daughter has finally broken her silence, and what she revealed left everyone stunned. She looked straight into the camera and said, "He tried to control me." And just like that, the internet erupted. People paused, replayed it, and tried to wrap their heads around the weight of her words. At first glance, Aaron always appeared calm and structured, but now, it felt like a mask had been ripped off. The stories that followed weren't just about a strict parent, they were about something darker. From bizarre rules to cold punishments that didn't even make sense, her truth painted a picture no one expected. It wasn't just discipline. She described a life where she felt like she had no voice, no room to just be a kid. And when she finally said it out loud, you could almost hear the walls of silence crashing down. The fear, the confusion, the buried pain, it all spilled out. The world was listening now, and the response was instant. People didn't just react, they felt it in their bones. Because no child should ever feel like they have to beg just to exist freely in their own home. It started in the most ordinary moment. Teyana's daughter was just sitting at the kitchen table, poking at her food when she suddenly began to open up. There wasn't any dramatic outburst, just a quiet voice that carried a world of pain. "Aaron used to tell me when to talk and how to walk," she said. At first, Teyana didn't quite understand what her daughter meant. But then the child kept going. She said Aaron didn't like the way she dressed, the way she stood, even the way she smiled. He made her feel like a doll on a shelf, only to be moved and posed when he decided. If she did something he didn't approve of, she wasn't just corrected, she was punished, often in silence, with a cold look that made her stomach twist. Teyana had thought Aaron was trying to teach manners or offer structure, but her daughter's voice cracked as she explained how she always felt small, always wrong. That wasn't parenting. That was control. And for a child to carry that weight in silence for so long, it was heartbreaking. As the conversation went on, the details became even more painful. Her daughter spoke about how she wasn't allowed to walk into the kitchen without asking first. If Aaron was on a call and she needed something, she had to wait quietly in a corner until he gave her permission to speak. If she made a noise or accidentally interrupted, he wouldn't yell, but he'd give her a look that could freeze the air. One time, he threw out her favorite stuffed animal, calling it babyish and saying she was too old for it. She cried for days, but he told her to grow up. Even when she did everything right, he found something wrong. If she stayed quiet, he called her moody. If she laughed, he called her loud. She said it felt like walking a tightrope, where falling either way meant punishment. "I felt like I was always in trouble, even when I was doing nothing," she said. It wasn't a home, it was a silent battlefield. And she had been stuck in it alone, for far too long. Teyana listened, frozen, as each sentence hit harder than the last. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. Her mind kept going back to every moment when her daughter had seemed distant or anxious, but she never imagined it was this bad. Tears welled up in her eyes as she asked the one question that shattered her completely. "Why didn't you tell me before?" Her daughter looked at her and replied, "Because I didn't think you'd believe me." That broke something deep inside Teyana. The guilt came crashing in all at once. She started to remember little things she had ignored. Times when her daughter looked uncomfortable, when she hesitated to speak around Aaron, when she suddenly didn't want to go back to the house. All the signs had been there, but she had trusted Aaron. She believed he was firm but fair. Now, she realized she had been blind. Her baby had been suffering in silence, and she hadn't seen it. That guilt, that pain, was something no mother ever wants to feel. She didn't wait. As soon as she could pull herself together, Teyana called Iman. He picked up immediately, and the second she started telling him what their daughter had revealed, the tone in his voice changed. "No man tells my daughter when she can breathe," he said, every word filled with fire. He didn't need to hear every detail. Just knowing she had been scared was enough. Iman was at the house the same day, knocking on the door, ready to confront Aaron. But Aaron wasn't home. Still, Iman made one thing clear: his daughter wasn't stepping foot back into that house. "She's not staying here again," he said flatly. He called his lawyer that night, determined to adjust the custody agreement and take full control. No hesitation. No back and forth. This wasn't a debate. It was a father protecting his child. And for Iman, there was nothing more important than that. He had let things slide before, thinking Aaron was just doing his part. But now that he knew the truth, there was no turning back. Aaron, on the other hand, quickly tried to save face. He told people he was only trying to provide structure. "She's just a kid. She doesn't understand discipline," he claimed. But no one was buying it. The internet had already heard the little girl's side, and it didn't sound like structure. It sounded like fear. One tweet went viral saying, "Structure is when a child feels safe, not scared." And it didn't stop there. Other people started to come forward. Friends, old acquaintances, even someone who once dated Aaron. They all said the same thing: he liked control. He didn't scream or hit, but he used silence, tone, and manipulation to get what he wanted. His social media went dark: no posts, no defense. And that silence said more than words ever could. If he was innocent, people asked, why wasn't he speaking? Why wasn't he fighting back? But he disappeared instead. And with that, his image cracked into pieces. The internet rose up like a wave of fire. And this time, it was for the right reasons. What started as a painful moment for one family quickly evolved into a movement. The spark came from a young girl's voice, a voice that, for far too long, had been stifled by silence and overlooked signs. When her truth finally came out, it caught the world's attention, and people weren't just watching, they were responding. Fans flooded every corner of social media with heartfelt messages of support for Teyana's daughter. Comments poured in by the thousands. "She's a child, and she stood up for herself. That takes guts," one user wrote, capturing what so many others felt but couldn't quite put into words. What followed was not just a fleeting trend but a surge of emotion and action. Hashtags began trending globally. Hashtags that demanded change, that demanded protection for children, and most importantly, that demanded people start believing children when they speak. These weren't just performative posts, they were raw, emotional outpourings. Some shared their own childhood stories, others posted resources for parents and educators, and many just used their platforms to amplify the message. Silence protects no one but the abuser. The momentum was powerful. Iman, the father, was praised across the internet. He was hailed not just as a celebrity or a public figure but as something far more important: a real man, a real father. People commended him for stepping in when it mattered most, for protecting his child with firmness and love. His actions resonated deeply, not just because he acted, but because he did so in a way that showed clarity and compassion. He didn't hesitate, didn't second-guess the truth, and because of that, his daughter found the safety she had been missing. Not everyone had praise to give. Some voices on social media turned their criticism toward Teyana, questioning how she could have missed what was happening under her own roof. These comments were sharp, and at times, unforgiving. But in between the criticism, there were others who offered understanding. They reminded the public that manipulation isn't always loud. Sometimes, it's so subtle, so quiet, that even the ones closest to it can't see the signs until it's already too late. That's the nature of emotional abuse. It hides in everyday interactions, in twisted words and gaslighting smiles. Survivors, therapists, teachers, all began to weigh in, using their experiences to underscore a chilling truth. This wasn't just a celebrity scandal. It was a mirror held up to society, reflecting how easily children can be silenced, how long that silence can linger, and how deeply it scars. The ripple effect of this one brave confession was enormous. It hit people on a deeply personal level. Parents began re-evaluating their own homes, their relationships, the dynamics between their children and trusted adults. Social workers and counselors reported a rise in inquiries. Support groups swelled with new members, survivors of childhood emotional abuse who finally felt seen. Many said they saw themselves in Teyana's daughter. They recognized the confusion, the hesitation, the courage it took to speak up when no one else did. And in seeing her, they found the strength to tell their own stories, some for the first time in decades. Teyana didn't retreat into silence. She made a public promise that she was going to do better. Her words weren't defensive or dismissive. They were full of remorse, honesty, and a desire to repair what had been broken. She began attending therapy sessions with her daughter. They started slow, rebuilding trust brick by brick. "I'm listening now," she said at one session, holding her daughter close. The way she said it, the way she looked at her, it was clear she meant every word. She had heard the wake-up call, and now, her actions were beginning to match her intentions. Iman didn't stop at offering emotional support. He took legal steps to protect his daughter, ensuring her environment was safe and supportive. But even more than that, he changed the atmosphere around her. For the first time in a long time, the girl had a space where she could breathe without fear, speak without judgment, laugh without second-guessing herself. She could finally be a kid again. And that, more than anything, was the victory everyone had been fighting for. As for Aaron, the man at the center of it all, he was told to stay away indefinitely, not out of hatred or revenge, but out of necessity. Healing demanded boundaries. The silence that once shielded him had shattered, and with it, the illusion that he could continue to operate in the shadows. There was no more room for secrecy, no more room for denial. The family's focus was now solely on moving forward, on healing, on protecting, and on making sure that silence would never again be allowed to take the place of truth. What started as a deeply personal moment within one family became something much bigger. It became a reckoning, a collective realization of how common these stories are and how powerful it is when even one person decides to listen. The truth was finally out. And this time, it wasn't going back into the dark. It was staying in the light, where it belonged. And in that light, others were finding the courage to speak, to heal, and to believe that their voices, too, deserved to be heard. Do you think Aaron was really trying to help? Or was he hiding behind the word discipline to cover control? Should Teyana have acted sooner? Or did her daughter's bravery open the door that no one else could? Drop your real thoughts in the comments, because this isn't just about one celebrity family, it's about how we treat the voices of the smallest people in the room. Hit that like button if you believe every child deserves to be heard, and subscribe for more raw, emotional, and real celebrity stories that remind us what truly matters.